Hey folks, this is Waylon Lewis from Boulder, Colorado, and it's been a little while. It feels like. So I did a moderated sort of interview or panel yesterday about the effect of sugar on our diets and the attempt here in Boulder, Colorado, to tax companies who are putting more than 5 grams of sugar in a 12-ounce drink, and then to take that money and to directly pay for children, particularly marginalized children, to get a food education and access to real food, which is sorely lacking for many of us in society. Today and yesterday, it got so rancorous halfway in that I actually ended the interview, or pressed pause on it, at least for the first time, I think, ever. I think it's the first time I really interrupted or hung up on an interview. And then we paused, we took a deep breath, and I said, guys, 90% we're on the same page here. We all care about children, we care about diabetes, we care about health, we care about my friend Jamba having a viable business. So that's one of the things we can do in conflict, is remember and actually list what we have in common, because often, especially it being November 1st, with the election coming up, both sides are praying for new revelations to come forward, right? That liberals are praying that Trump will, there'll be established ties between him and his staff in Russia, and Trump's fans are accusing, last night on our Facebook page, someone accused Hillary of being a rapist and something else. It was, a murderer, all this stuff. So we're literally wishing ill on our enemies. So you might guess that the Buddha might advise the opposite, that actually we don't have to become our enemies, we don't have to agree with them. If say, with the North Dakota pipeline, we see that our enemies, so-called, are tearing apart the land and endangering our water supply and our sacred connection to the land, we can actually treat them, our enemies, with respect, with kindness, but still with strength. And I think that's the sound of my coffee, so let's go to my kitchen. So, and I think what often gets confused here is that kindness is the same thing as kind of giving in. And it's not. We've seen that in the example of Martin Luther King, of Gandhi, in the writings of Henry David Thoreau. So just a brief pause. If you guys are just tuning in, say where you're from. And if I have an editor on duty, announce yourself, or maybe you already did. And folks, if you want to support Elephant for free, the best way to do that is to get our newsletter, elephantjournal.com/best. The reason why is because basically only our viral stuff gets out through into Facebook. And last night we had a complaint that I agreed with on our Facebook page. The complaint said, I'm sick of articles like this. Elephant has changed. I hate you, I'm leaving. Something like that. And frankly, I half agree. The stuff that we are able to share on Facebook, hopefully all of it's really good and valuable, but it tends to be the more viral kind of relationship stuff. So if you want Elephant, what we're actually publishing, you have to go to Elephant. That's elephantjournal.com/best for our newsletter. So back to the subject. So we all have conflict in our daily lives, right? So we may not have a Standing Rock North Dakota pipeline. We may not have a Trump fan as our spouse, or a Hillary fan as our son or daughter, but we all have conflict in our life, and we all react to that in different ways. I typically react to that by forgetting to breathe for about a minute, by stomping around, and then yelling, making a lot of noise, because apparently people can't hear me when I'm mad, which is a funny coincidence, and then leaving. So if that reminds you of a 2-year-old tantrum, you and my mother are both onto something. So how do we deal with, so I'm not talking to you from the point of view of being enlightened. I'm talking to you from the point of view of, like yourself, hopefully this is more helpful. like yourself, I'm on the path. And the path in my case is the path of the Buddha, but the path in your case can just be the path of mindfulness or trying to do the right thing. So if you're just tuning in, say where you're coming from. And nothing's wrong with trash talk. Someone just said trash talk. Trash talk is super fun. I used to play a ton of basketball. Trash talk usually has a sense of humor in it. And can be a really fun way to kind of just be competitive and have fun. So there's nothing wrong with a sense of humor or talking loudly about your conflict, right? So here's a couple tips. One, see your enemy as yourself. So directly invest yourself in the moment of conflict in empathy. So like there's an amazing article in the New York Times today about the North Dakota pipeline protest from both sides, from the point of view of a police officer and from the point of view of one of the protesters, a Native American. And what's really interesting is when you read both sides, you see that you remember that everyone's just scared and everyone's human and everyone's kind of trying to do their best and everyone gets caught up in objectifying the other side. In News at 11, that's not going to help. That's not going to work. So you can look at both sides. You can have empathy. You can see the other side. You can say, what is my MO? Where am I coming from if I'm on the other side against me? And this isn't to just be a touchy-feely little Buddhist hippie, right? This is actually Sun Tzu, Art of War. If you want to win, if that's your motivation, which hopefully it's not particularly, but if you just want to see the truth and get to the truth, this is the way to get there. So you have to see where the other side is coming from. Most of us are too arrogant or proud in our point of view. Well, the word I should have used, we're too scared actually to look at what the other side is saying. We can look at the other side and consider it without agreeing, right? So we have to remember how to disagree agreeably. I've said that many times. So you got a little typo there. That's not the article, Ashley. I don't think. It's from both sides. All right. So once you see the other side, you do not have to accept it. So that's important. So first you look at both sides with empathy. Then you engage in judgment or prajna, discernment. So a lot of yoga hippie types will always say judgment is bad, judgment is bad, judgment is bad. Judgment is not bad. Judgment is saying, I would rather have a blanket right now than hitting my head with a hammer. That's judgment. Prejudgment is the problem. Prejudging. Judging when you really don't have the info. It's also known as prejudice. Prejudge. Prejudice. So, and I'm enjoying my blanket right now. So prejudice is the problem. So once you look into the other side from a genuine, open point of view, now you can judge. You can say, I want an organic apple instead of a GMO apple, or I want a safe streets and education for my child instead of the opposite, right? It's incredibly, I judge that it is incredibly irritating that hippies, or more likely sort of spiritual materialists, I am a hippie and I love hippies, but spiritual materialists are always saying judgment is bad, judgment is bad. Notice what they're saying in those three words. They're literally making a judgment in those three words. So, welcome to being human. You have to make judgments. I'm going to walk through the doorway instead of into the wall. Right, exactly. Discernment. So in Buddhism, it's called prajna, Prajna, and that's actually one of my Buddhist names. And prajna underlies, is the foundation of all the virtues. So without judgment, without discernment, without wisdom, without insight, you can't use any of the other virtues. It's sort of like Superman, right? Or Supergirl. They can't save anything unless they decide where to go, how to do it, and what to do, right? Weird example, but I've been watching Supergirl on Netflix for want of. It's really hard to find anything to watch on Netflix. I don't know why we pay for it. Coffee. I judge that is very good. So, once you So when I read this, seeing both sides of the Standing Rock conflict, and we have lots of blogs about the Standing Rock conflict if you'd like to put that in the DAPL protests, if you'd like to put that in the comments, Ashley, that would be great. So once so reading that article, you see both sides, and frankly, I read the police officer's side, and it was helpful to see him as a human, and I do see police officers as humans, and I actually probably went into it with some kind of bias, thinking, you know what, the protesters are probably just being jerks. Not overall, it's a good cause, but I mean, there's a lot of Boulder's full of sort of privileged trustafarians who want to jump into any conflict that ever happens, and they do so with a lot of righteous anger, a lot of prejudging. And Trungpa Rinpoche, the Buddhist teacher, would say aggression just creates further aggression. So if you go into activism out of your own self-righteousness or aggression, you're just going to actually strengthen the enemy and make the enemy angrier. So I went into that article probably with some prejudgment that the police officer would be a decent human, a husband, a wife, just trying to go about their day and do the right thing and do their job, and the activists would be kind of jerks. And it was completely the opposite. The activist was incredibly soft and noble and feeling, and the police officer made some analogies like, if I tried to build my house on this land, I would get moved off too. Well, that's not what's happening here. This is civil disobedience. This is protest. This is fundamental to what we are as a democracy, that if a law is unjust, you protest it. You actually disobey in a respectful, hopefully nonviolent manner. And as long as the Standing Rock protests are nonviolent, they will have my complete support. And, well, I wish I were doing more, frankly. We're publishing articles on it and fomenting some, hopefully, mindful dialogue about it, but really I haven't done anything about it, personally, which I'm starting to feel bad about. All those Facebook protests about it yesterday kind of made me think, oh, my friends are actually going there. They're actually there. And then they weren't. It was just a Facebook protest. How convenient. So, once you have empathy, then you can judge. And I judged that this police officer was making kind of ridiculous statements. His other statement was that a horse charged them, didn't do anything to them. And he said all we could do was shoot some bean shot and something else. It's like, oh, you're so helpless with all your guns and a horse that's not actually doing anything to you. So, didn't really hold up, but it's still a useful exercise to hear from both sides. And there's decent people on both sides, of course. And I'm sure this police officer doesn't represent everyone on the other side. So once you have the discernment, great. And then here's a third thing. You should not enjoy conflict. That's probably the number one red flag in dating or in love, is if someone enjoys conflict, they might be crazy. Most of us find ourselves in conflict, we freak out, we get all emotional, we create further conflict through our messy emotions, but we want to get out. We want the drama to stop. We want to fundamentally be happy. We want other people fundamentally to be happy. We want everything to go back to being nice. And that has good and bad aspects to it, but fundamentally we want sanity as our foundation. Come on in! Yeah, come on in. I'm just on the video. Oh, can you get him back in? All right, let's go get Redford. Yeah, he doesn't go too far. Hey, good boy. Come here. Ready? All right, I'm on video, so I'm going to be quiet. Okay. My dog's creating some trouble. He's half hound. Hey, Redford, come here. Come here. Come say hi. At least get me some likes and loves. Hey, Redford! Come here, Tush. He's very excited because he has some visitors. Oh my God, what's happening? Oh my God. All right. So fundamentally, number 3, we shouldn't enjoy conflict. You can see a lot of people in politics right now are enjoying conflict. They actually, there's this subreddit on Reddit called The Donald, and it's one of the most vile places. It's like you need you have to rappel in with sturdy rope and someone on the other end of the rope into Mordor, where all these people are. It's like conspiracy theories and they hate Hillary. Like, you can dislike Hillary without being the Donald, this subreddit on Reddit. You can dislike Trump without being a crazy liberal. You can do it in a respectful, sane way. Even if they're not worthy of respect, you can offer them respect. Respect is about us, not about them, right? So, number 3, don't enjoy the conflict. Don't vilify the other people. Don't engage in hatred. Aggression just creates aggression. Number 4, and that one is really important. I think too many of us are enjoying hating the other side. There is one exception to it, I guess. Like, if you're a Yankees fan and someone wearing a Red Sox cap comes into Yankee Stadium, all bets are off. But that was the only caveat from the time of the Buddha. So then number 4 is the fundamental thing, which is the Buddha's middle way. So you engage in civil disobedience. You fight for civil rights or human rights. You fight for what's right. You deal with your loved one who you're having fights with. Let's face it, most of the conflict in most of our lives who are watching this video is probably on a personal level. It's at work, it's at home. Most of us are not dealing with Standing Rock or dealing with Aleppo or dealing with the UN or dealing with Trump or Hillary personally. But how do we talk to those we're having a difficult time with? And that could even be ourselves. So it's to engage in Maitri, in kindness. You can put the Maitri link in the links, and basically to pour a healing salve on hatred. So none of this is weak. You can do so with strength. I wish I had the book right here, but it's called Shambhala, The Sacred Path of the Warrior by Trungpa Rinpoche. And I don't care if anyone here reads it or is Buddhist or Shambhala. This isn't about converting anyone, but it's the example of the warrior as someone who has good head and shoulders, who is strong, who has an open heart, strong back. That's a very profound little notion there, that you can be open and yet strong. And that you engage in your world with a sense of fearlessness, a fearlessness that is not rejecting fear, but that is accepting fear, that is accepting the difficulties of the world and then going through it. The only way out is through, as Winston Churchill said. And then when you're not ignoring fear, when you're not trying to get away from difficulty, when you're engaging in it because you have confidence in your tools, meditation, first of all. Oh my God, my dog. Just crazy excited. Some people are coming over. Then you can engage with a sense of kindness, with empathy, with humor. We can actually have a sense of humor about our difficulties. Like yesterday, I was feeling really sorry for myself because I'm really burned out and I'm working way too hard. And you start kind of drowning in your own loneliness instead of just, and in a funny way, you're not feeling it. You're rejecting it the whole time. You're warding it off. And if you can just relax, then you can swim up to the top, right? They actually give that advice. When someone is drowning, just make yourself still, and then you'll feel which way is up, and then you can go up. So, Shambhala, Sacred Path of the Warrior. And that's in my blog, The 10 Best Buddhist Books for Beginners to Read. There's some other great books on that list, like Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. But Shambhala is a wonderful and pretty easy read. It's actually got 2 H's in it. Anyway, Ashley, if you can put that link in, that would be great. Alrighty, I'm going to go through some comments. We do these every day. Right now we have about 400 people, as you can see, live, or 300. And normally we get like 10 to 75,000 people in our little morning sessions. So it's pretty fun. So I'm going to go through your comments now. Lisa McBride, good morning, Shambhala. So say where you're from. Leslie from Tustin. First day of your birthday month. I like how you deal. So we have a great blog on how to celebrate your birthday from a Buddhist point of view. It's interesting I'm doing this. I'm like doing a little Trump thing. Celebrate your birthday from a Buddhist point of view. It's the best. It's tremendous. It's amazing. I don't have the accent, but I looked more like a cheap godfather. Danny from Wyoming. Asthma from Paris. Awesome. Your first time catching live stream. Yeah, and you can get any of the videos, my interviews with Michael Pollan or Deepak Chopra or Ariana Huffington, whoever you like, on youtube.com/Elephant Journal. Ashley, if you can put the subscribe to YouTube link in. It's a weird subscription link. Livia from Ontario, from Toronto. I went to Toronto once for the yoga conference and read from a book that I have yet to finish called Eco Boy versus Yoga Girl. Alrighty. Hello from Elga, Perez Rubio, Kim from Chicago, Kristen from Virginia, Wendy from Dakota. Oh, yeah, thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, I'm happy. I actually have reached out. So one of our readers, I'm happy to say, is Shailene Woodley, the Hollywood actress, and she's been super active in the pipeline protests. And I've wanted to interview her or someone who has been there and can speak about it in a completely open and non-aggressive way. I don't really want to give a platform to aggression, but I do want to support those who are protesting. And I'd love to go myself in all my spare time. I am working like 14 hours a day, 7 days a week right now, which is why I look like that. I'm only 20 years old, and yet I look like I'm 42. Autumn from Mishawaka, Indiana. Patricia from Ithaca. Betty from Cape Town. Cool. Wendy from Ohio. Kindness has no opinion. It is the one thing we should all agree with. I like that. I think it has opinions, but I like that we can all agree with it. Maureen from Manchester, Connecticut. Patty from Leamington, Ontario. All right, let's find some questions. Spain, Kansas City, Austin, Lake Cumberland. Maybe, so we'll wrap this up with 2 minutes of meditation in a second. We'll do a little Om together, which will be fun. Asma from Morocco, but in Paris, I really want to visit Paris and stay and bike around. Ilana from from Cape Town. Aaron Ott, judgment keeps us alive. There's a nice quote from Waylon Lewis. Judgment is good. Yeah, prejudgment is the problem. Prejudgment is usually self-righteousness and aggression. Thank you, Ilana. I like your judgment. I judge that your judgment makes me feel happy. LJ, hope you're all checking in Standing Rock on Facebook. Helps without being there. I think maybe it helps a little bit, but I think so many thousands of people have done it now. It's kind of done. It's the, what do you call it? Armchair activism. It's the epitome of that. Yeah, exactly, Jill. That said, officers can engage in civil disobedience by not obeying their commands. In this case, I don't think their commands are unjust, but it would be good to see no conflict. And, the way they've been treating some of the protesters when they arrest them, it seems really hard. Tying up old people overnight. It's tough. It's not good. Michelle, we need to find better way to treat one another. Nancy, I've always had a lack of understanding, acceptance of the whole gun thing. Any insight would be great. My mind and heart are always open to understand views I don't see. Well, nothing's wrong with guns, obviously, but the proliferation of them in everyday life and the lack of just common sense gun control, which isn't a bad word, but gun safety maybe is a nicer word. Like Obama was suggesting that, your thumbprint be activated with your gun so that only you can use your own gun. So many accidents happen, so many guns that are involved in crime, like in New York City, come from states without, with the big loopholes, in the gun shows. And it's just pretty common sense. If we just treated guns like cars or anything else, and we just did common sense things, like cars have to have seatbelts, cars have to have headlights, cars have to have, a blinker, turn signal. That's all we're talking about. I don't think anyone on the Democratic or on the conservative side wants to get rid of guns. I don't think that's going to happen. This is America. We love our guns. All right. Let's get to 400 people. You can share it. You can like it. You can comment. You can say Waylon is an idiot, but Redford has some good points. And if you do that, the algorithm will go, oh, this video is happy, and it'll let more people see it. Federica, hey, buddy. Very helpful insight in the way we can practice Buddha's teachings will remain human while remaining human while doing so. Yeah, it's really about that. If you can engage in your fear and other people's aggression with breathing through it. I mean, yesterday or Sunday, I was so stressed out. I was so mad. I think I literally lost a year on my life. Our website had kind of went down for 2 hours, and I really felt sick. I felt physically sick. Luckily, I didn't take it out on others. I don't think I was pleasant to be around, but I somehow didn't engage in vilifying others. Others can have fault, or they could have responsibility for telling you what's happening and not knowing, but fundamentally yelling at someone else, which is what we all tend to do when we're angry or scared, is not necessarily going to help. You can talk to them and try and find out what's happening, but raising your voice is usually the sign. There's a great quote, the first person raise their voice has lost the argument. Federica, Melina. All right, there's Maitri. You could read that. Carrie, book name. The book is Shambhala, and there should be a link in the comments. Yeah, best Buddhist books for beginners with simple meditation instruction by yours truly. Ev, I would love to take a break. I would love nothing more than to take a break, but this is actually what I'm going through. I'm feeling I'm feeling like my entire life is being devoted to you guys and to our readership and to building Elephant up to be a source of sane media, sane independent media in the U.S. And, you know, I don't have time for children or marriage or travel and adventure and camping, and so I sit here working night and day, feeling sorry for myself lately. And I love the work. It's not that I love it. I wouldn't do it, but yeah, I don't see a break in sight. If you want to help give me a break, you can get our newsletter, which is the only thing we really control at all, elephantjournal.com/best. But and you know, hopefully that's just a good source of good stuff in your life, wake up stuff in your life. But yeah, it's a lot of weight creating a business. Renee, Pennsylvania. South Carolina. Rhonda from Michigan. Princeton, British Columbia. Cheap Godfather. That should be Trump. If Trump becomes president, that should be his Secret Service name. All right, we got Cheap Godfather is going out to get a slice of pizza and eat it with a knife and fork. Megan, hey-o from Boulder. All right. Who's Megan? Or Megan? Huntsville, Alabama. Lori, Reno. Whitney, Nanaimo. Yule from Earth. Cool name. Ezekiel from Yule. Are you really Ezekiel Igib from Yule? I love that. Sounds like Lord of the Rings stuff here. Chuck D likes turtles. Oh my God. Hey, Chuck. Allie from somewhere in Vail, Colorado. Yeah, Panzarella from Vermont, where I used to live. Yeah, you can get all the videos if you just subscribe. I'm not sure if I saw... Oh, yeah, there it is. Thank you. The YouTube subscribe link. Orlando, Heather, thank you for tuning in. Southampton, UK, I love you too, Chuck. When my friends tune in and make fun of me, it's always the best. All right, Fenella, I'm here with you from New Zealand, struggling with personal conflict. Yeah, let's get some comments or questions. All of you are going through personal conflict or conflict in your life, or did, or you have friends who are. Do you have any questions? And I can try and relate to something helpful from the Buddhist tradition about that. Yeah, and in the meantime, Fenella, you can read that blog on Maitri. It's really, really helpful for me. If you can make friends with yourself, then you don't need to make enemies of others, right? If you can, a lot of the aggression of the world comes from us having not been able to make friends with ourselves. Like the sadness or the self-pity or the loneliness I was just expressing, it's okay to be open and honest about stuff like that, but at some point I have to make friends with my own decisions and say, okay, well, if I'm not able to do all those things because I want to establish something helpful for the world, then that's your decision, and then you gotta make the best of it, right? All right. La 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 la. Let's get some comments or questions. Caitlin Murphy, I am the founder of Elephant Journal, and I am drinking fair trade organic coffee. Caitlin, I'm glad you're hooked. That's great. It's helpful to be hooked to mindful stuff. Not that I'm mindful, but I'm hopefully relating mindfulness. And remember, that is a great point, actually. Mindfulness is not about being mindful and being perfect. Mindfulness is about being a discursive human wreck, which all of us are, and then, coming back to the present moment. So that's what the practice of meditation is. There's a little quote for Lindsay. All righty. Federica, who I have not seen forever, from Italy, but living in Brooklyn. Joey, thank you for loving our FB. Yeah, we love our FB, but FB has been tough on us. We went from 23 million readers this year to 6, and now we're back to 8 because I'm working night and day. Okay, Whitney, here's a great question. You just made my morning. First question. How do you settle in and live with the opinion that society has that you must have everything sorted by the end of your 20s? So, Whitney, I have bad news for you. You must have everything together in your life by the end of your 20s, or you're a failure. I'm obviously kidding. So one of my best friends, actually my girlfriend last year, my ex-girlfriend, has so much self-imposed guilt and difficulty with her own self because she doesn't know yet what she wants to do. And she's not yet doing some huge nonprofit and saving the planet. She's 27. When I was a kid, I had this mentor, Mike Smith, who is the owner, Trident, in Boulder. He was the owner and manager of the Trident. And he would tell all of us kids, look, your 20s are to try different things. Try this, try that, try this, try that. Try them with 2 feet in. Try them all the way. Try, fail, quit, try harder. Do whatever you want. Just try different things. Travel. Make mistakes. That's what your 20s are for. And then 30, on the other hand, jump into something with 2 feet. So he's sort of saying what you have a problem with. But what I love about that approach is you need to allow yourself to try different things and fail. Because you don't want to settle on what your thing is too quickly. If you know your thing, I knew what my thing was when I was 8. I like to write. When I was 8, I wanted to be a baseball writer. That eventually evolved to wanting to be a writer like Kerouac, and then to being a publisher, where you actually don't ever get to write really, but you create a platform for other people to share helpful things for life and for the world. So that's hopefully what Elephant is. But the main thing is don't guilt trip yourself and meditate. My friend is so discursive and lost in her mind. She's doing all kinds of great things. Like if you just looked at her, if she could look at herself from the outside, she'd say, wow, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing great work, you're doing volunteer stuff, you're learning how to sing again, you're doing this sort of hobby. She's doing so much. She just hosted a party for everyone to get together and fill out their ballots and vote. She's accomplishing an incredible amount, but she doesn't give herself credit really for any of it because she's just thinking about all the thing that she hasn't figured out, sort of what the golden egg is, what to do. Sorry about this truck. There's construction. Is the truck super loud? Say if the truck is super loud, and then I can't do anything about it. All right, so my main advice is don't guilt trip yourself. Read that blog, Maitri. And I've done videos on right livelihood. Right livelihood in the Buddhist tradition is defined by 4 things. You have to be good at it. You're not going to do any good if you suck at it. So if I want to dance, if that's my life's purpose, but I can't find my own way to dance. I don't have to be good at it in a conventional way. I just have to be good at it, whatever that means. I have to be good at it. I have to be able to make a living doing it. If I can't pay my bills, if I can't maybe it's not right livelihood. It has to be good for the world. If I am good at it and I can make money doing it, but it's not good for the world, I might be day trading, or something. Respect to the day traders. And then, what was number 4? Well, watch the video for number 4. That was convenient. I can't remember. I need more coffee. Where is it? So, yeah, Ashley, if you can put the right livelihood video in the comments, that would be great. And I am judging that this truck is really loud. All right. Anyway, great question, Whitney, and good luck to you, and keep us updated. Keep me updated. Write about it. That's the other thing you can do, is you can write about it. Often journaling or writing about it, like on Elephant, hint, hint, can be really helpful. elephantjournal.com/submit. Ashley, if you can put that link in the comments. Just sharing your experience. And you don't have to have an answer. I think so many people don't do these kind of videos because they think they have to be an authority. Well, I have practiced and studied and been trained in Buddhism my whole life. But as you know, if you know me, I'm a total idiot. So I'm just talking from, this is like the idiot's guide to mindfulness, right? And I think in some ways that's more helpful than having the Dalai Lama talk all the time. The Dalai Lama himself is a human being, but people treat him like some sort of god. That's why he's so humorous all the time, so you can remind people that he's just a human. We have this sickness called wanting to be perfect in the U.S. It's sick. You see the effects of people who want to be perfect. When they go through 80 rounds of plastic surgery and come out looking like lions or something, with all respect to people who have done 80 rounds of plastic surgery, but there's no point trying to be perfect. Wrinkles are okay. I have some great blogs, Ashley, on aging and wrinkles, if you search for that. Some of my favorite ones, Meryl Streep is the lead photo in one of them, and I think it's called The Buddha Aging, How to Age Gracefully, and the Buddha's advice. Ashley, if you can put that in the comments. Deb Deep, yeah, we could discuss alcoholism for sure next time. But I would need some people to ask some good questions about it, because otherwise I wouldn't know what to talk about necessarily. But we have amazing articles on alcoholism and on drinking and on quitting drinking and that kind of thing. Ashley could probably put one in the comment right now for Deb Deep and tag her. Brittany, best recommendation is how best to handle those friends who make generic but directed personal political attacks to those on the other side of the aisle via social media. Well, what I do with all the crazy political posts is I engage in them kind of peacefully. I try and see the best in them. I comment. I give them some reasonable journalism links. Like basically, if you're a liberal, if you're a conservative, stop reading crazy blogs. It's really a sickness in the U.S. right now. Read real journalism. Real journalism, like the New York Times right now, has headlines that are bad for Hillary. They have headlines that are bad for Trump. They have headlines that are good for Hillary. They have headlines that are good for Trump. That's called truth. Truth. The New York Times may not be perfect. I'm not talking about their op-ed section, which is opinion, but real journalism is going to try to find truth. And truth can be inconvenient for left or for right. It can be inconvenient for you or for me. Truth, journalism, can also be constructive and positive. It doesn't, you can write about something like the emails in an informative way instead of this sort of vindictive, conspiracy-addled way. You can write about something like Trump's ties to Russia or his pretty much illegal avoiding of paying taxes in a mature, informational way instead of a crazy Trump is evil kind of way. Calling someone evil or trying to be perfect, these are sort of the same sickness. It's objectifying, it's prejudgment, which we talked about before. It's not helpful, folks. So basically, Brittany, great question. I just try and engage with them in a human way and give them real journalism. And when they say that Hillary is a rapist and or Trump is whatever, Frankly, I do think he has some things in common with the rise of Hitler. I mean, any kind of populist but sort of fascist leader has some things in common, but he is certainly not Hitler. He's not Hitler at all. He has things in common with the rise of Hitler or the rise of Mussolini or the rise of any dictator. And I don't think those things are helpful for democracy. I don't think he understands what democracy is. And even worse, I don't think he particularly cares what democracy is. I think he cares how Trump is doing. And he's very good at that. He's incredibly good at that. And I salute him for that. But he's an incredibly effective and exciting and interesting politician. He's one of the most interesting people in the U.S. I say that with complete respect. If anyone wants to see a movie that was made about someone like Trump, that's 50 years old, starring the guy who was in that Andy Griffith movie. I think I blogged about it, Ashley. If you search Elephant, A Face in the Crowd on elephantjournal.com, it is one of my favorite films, and it will remind you, maybe, of Trump in good and bad ways. Alrighty. Can I do a chat about relationships and gaslighting? I've done a ton of talks about relationships. Always happy to do more. But Ev, if you look on youtube.com/elephantjournal, you'll find, and you search love, sex, relationships, loneliness, red flags, whatever you want. You'll find tons of talks about that stuff, but I'm always happy to do more. Donna is going up in a week or two with truckloads of supplies. Where are you from, Donna, and how can we get supplies to you? That is amazing. You're awesome. Try and bring organic stuff, not too much plastic. Hippie alert. I don't like the plastic. All right. Janice, with no news media covering, Facebook is one way to get info. I also purchased shirt to support. I think it helps. Janice, that's awesome. That said, news media has been covering it. It's on the cover of the New York Times. This is something that the Trump fans and Hillary fans, left people, right people, activists are always saying. The news media is blackout on this. There's no such thing. There's 8,000 million blogs. There's no way to have a blackout on anything. The mainstream news media will ignore topics until they get hugely relevant in a national way, which Standing Rock has done, and it's on the cover of the Times. But there is no big conspiracy there. The news media can be unfair in various ways, like it didn't really give much attention or respect to Bernie's campaign for a long time, but that's because it was out of left field. No one, including Bernie, imagined he would have that success. So, you know, there's been tons of coverage, and Facebook is certainly not anyone's friend. It is not, Facebook is not evil, but it is also not something to be trusted in terms of activism. I think if you want to be an activist and you want to write, find independent media like Elephant, like other independent mindful medias. And by independent, I don't mean crazy left-wing or right-wing. I mean independent media that is trying to do journalism. Alrighty. Carolyn, I don't believe in Buddhist Jesus. I don't think anyone believes in Buddhist Jesus. Jesus is my Lord and Savior, but I do highly support the people standing up for their water at Standing Rock. Yeah, it's not just their waters. It's going to affect 17 million people, many of whom are good Christians, many of whom are sketchy Christians, a few of whom are good Buddhists, and a few of whom are sketchy Buddhists. But to be serious, no one believes in the Buddha. It's like Jesus. The Buddha was a real person. There's nothing to believe in. You don't have to believe in something that's real. You don't have to have faith in something that's real. It's actually real. So, and the Buddha was no one's savior. He was not a god. So there's really no conflict with your God. And I think the Jesus talked about compassion, about empathy, about helping out the poor, the weak. And so did the Buddha. But the Buddha was an activist against the caste system. I don't think there's any conflict there, particularly. The only conflict there might be that some people think we need to convert people to their thing. Buddhists hopefully don't believe that. All right. Panzarella, I support Hillary, but what is my opinion on the WikiLeaks and Edward Snowden and Julian Assange? I don't support Hillary from the point of view that I think she's perfect. I support her from the point of view that I think she's highly competent, that she has the most progressive platform in history. And by progressive, I don't mean that conservatives are bad. I just mean that I care about climate change. I care about equal rights. I care about healthcare improving, not being scrapped. I care about her platform. I do care about electing female presidents. It's high time. So yeah, I do support her, but not out of some sort of like, she's not my football team. There's too much rah, us versus you kind of spirit around politics. I support her because of her views and because of her track record, which I know if you're a conspiracy-addled kind of Trump fan, that sounds crazy. But maybe you're crazy. Alrighty. WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks appears to be highly biased and to be getting a lot of its information from Russian hacks. If WikiLeaks basically was leaking everything from everyone all the time, everywhere, that would be great. And I think that could actually be a great public institution. I think Edward Snowden is one of my idols and deserves respect from everyone across the spectrum. He is the best of what is America. He very carefully shared leaks, knowing what the results would be. He didn't just let them all go like Chelsea and Julian is the opposite. So what was her name? Chelsea. We have 8,000 blogs about it. Brain. Edward Snowden has been very responsible in how he has exposed corruption and supported democracy. Julian Assange has incredibly obscure motivations. He's clearly with Russia trying to help the Trump campaign. That would be okay if he were leaking. It's great that he's leaking stuff about Hillary, but he should be leaking stuff about everyone, and the leaks themselves need to be completely transparent. So, big fan of Hillary. Not a huge fan of WikiLeaks, but if they leaked everything, would be a big fan. Huge fan of Edward Snowden. I think he should be pardoned. I think he should be paid for his services. And not a huge fan of Julian Assange anymore. No, I know what the Facebook's checking in. I think, I don't think it really helps anymore. I think it helped yesterday to confuse the authorities. If it does help, great. Alrighty. La da da. Lots of very sweet comments. Thank you, folks. Nyati, that is not true. Or maybe that is true. I can't tell what you're saying. What you're saying is either true or not. Buddha never preached regrets. Not true. Buddha has preached regrets. True. So, Trungpa Rinpoche talks about regret. He says, he was my parents' Buddhist teacher. He says it's important to feel regret. It's important to feel guilt. It's important to feel sorry. It's important to feel bad. It's important to feel the results of your actions for 3 seconds and then move on. Great advice. So we need to be brave enough and responsible enough to feel where we've messed up. Alrighty. Balance is important. It sounds like I need to build some in. Well, I built some in last year and we dropped from 23 million to 6 million readers, largely because of Facebook's algorithm change. So because I have 20 people I employ and because I care more ultimately about creating a sane site that can be devoted to independent journalism and creative writing more than myself, that's what I'm doing. If I built balance in, this video would not be here, and neither would Elephant. So I need help. That's the only solution. I need good staff and I need help. And right now I don't have enough. Thank you. Life is short and I am burning it. Yeah, I do try. I am pretty good at taking care of myself, balance day to day, like eating decent food, drinking decent coffee, very good coffee, meditating, exercising, but it's intense. Ashley, can I talk about using anger as a tool? Anger is wisdom. It's just too much wisdom in too short of a time, in a sense. So if we can breathe through our anger, if we can use the anger instead of the anger using us, if we can express, a lot of activists would say anger is a sacred thing. Anger is injustice manifesting in communication or in actions. And that's good, but don't let the anger turn you into what you're fighting, which is something violent, right? Patty, I show so many of Elephant's wonderful articles on Facebook. That's one of the biggest ways to help us is Facebook's algorithm now really only shows people what has been shared. So if you ever read anything helpful on Elephant, please share it. That's super helpful. Thank you. Inga, big love to you. How to deal with the news that my cancer is back. Well, I think the immediate thing that happens is that you feel an incredible amount, and it's important to allow yourself to feel that. You might feel surprise, you might feel sadness, you might feel shock, you might feel anger, you might feel regret for what you're losing or missing out on. You might feel bravery, and you might feel positive energy moving forward to fight the cancer. You might feel 8,000 different things all at once, and you almost have to take a full week or two just to go on a Buddhist meditation retreat. You don't need to become Buddhist, and just feel. So Tonglen is one of the most powerful practices for feeling. And Ashley, if you could put that in the comments and tag Inga. Tonglen is allowing ourselves to feel and giving generously, giving positive stuff back to the world. Why is feeling important? Because if you don't allow yourself to feel that, and let's all give Inga some love right now. If you don't allow yourself to feel that, then you're going to be acting out of various, what in Buddhism calls klesha. Klesha is sort of conflicting emotions, is messy, conflicting emotions. And while fundamentally you have to make friends with klesha, read that blog Maitri as well, you're not going to be acting in a way that is kind to yourself or kind to others around you. So Inga, really take a couple days or weeks to feel, and big love, and know that people are here to support you, whatever happens, whatever we can do or what we can't do, we're here, and people care about you. Even if they're just people online sending you, see all these hearts going across the screen, just sending you hearts and love, and I think also working with and volunteering, if you can, with others who are going through tough situations. One of the most powerful ways to surmount our own difficulties is to remember that so many people are going through difficulties. I've been, nothing like what you're going through, but I've been saying, well, I'm 42 and all I do is work, and I'm falling apart and I'm tired all the time. I'm going to basically die not having lived. Having basically just stared at computer screens, which is almost like out of Black Mirror. It's its own special kind of hell. And then, I read about Standing Rock, or I read about people who are homeless, or I read about things, or I see people, or I talk with people who are having a hard time. And I remember, wow, it's not all about me. There's a ton of people going through way harder things, way harder, way harder. So, big love to you, Inga. And if you'd like to write about it and share your experience, that can also be helpful. elephantjournal.com/submit, just relating your experience to others in a helpful way. We learn by teaching. Trina, hello from Olympia, Washington. What can we do if we find ourselves triggered into a rage? Sally, this is probably my favorite question of the day. I'm a very temper tantrumy person. So basically, most temper tantrums last for, in my experience as a scientist with my own temper tantrums, for about 2.5 minutes. One of my favorite things to do is leave the situation. Don't say mean things. Don't huff and puff. Just leave. And when you've gone back from being the Hulk, so when you start getting angry, you're ripping through your clothes. Leave. And then you can come back when you've shrunk down to your non-green size, and and your clothes might be in shreds, but you won't have done damage. And then you can say, hey, I'm sorry I left, but I just have to take myself out of that situation when I'm losing it. And the Buddha and others would advise that you basically turn yourself into a piece of like dead wood. So when you feel angry and you have some dishes and you're like, I want to break these dishes, just don't do anything. Basically, less is more. Breathing is really good. So these are all sort of physical things you can do to prevent yourself from causing harm to yourself and others through your words or through your actions. I did a whole video on anger and domestic violence. Ashley, if you'd like to share that in the comments. Ev, if I'm working so hard to make sure my business is staying afloat, isn't that going against the Buddhist thought of holding onto something too tightly? That's a fantastic question. So I've written some blogs about letting go. Letting go is not, it's sort of overrated. I think that was the title of my blog. So spiritual materialists, as I would call them, I'm not calling you that, I will always say, just let go, just let go. Letting go is not nihilism. When you practice meditation, you practice letting go of your attachment to your, really attachment to your attachment again and again and again and again. But when you stop meditating, you still care about your home, you care about your loved ones, you care about your lover, you care about your children, you care about real food, you care about the planet, you still care. So letting go is not getting rid of caring. And elephant is really just an expression of caring. We do need to let go of our attachment to caring, in a sense. But basically, I feel like I grew up Buddhist. I grew up without any money, but I grew up with a great education and a great mom. And I have the potential to be of service, whether as a politician or as a media person or, making... Wouldn't it be great if in the US, with all this rancorous debate, that we had a mainstream, independent news source with a sense of sanity, a sense of compassion, maitri, a sense of humor? Well, that's what Elephant could be. And I think that would be helpful. I think Jon Stewart was helpful for the US. I think the New York Times, good journalism, is helpful for the US. I think having a reference point of sanity and compassion and humor and empathy is important for the US and for the whole world. And so, yeah, I am working for that. And as you know, as a parent, as an entrepreneur, balance, you can't always be balanced. An entrepreneur or parent can't say, hey kid, I'd love to feed you, I'd love to help you with your poopy diaper, but I gotta go to the gym. I gotta go out for drinks with my girlfriends or my guy buddies. So sometimes you have to sacrifice. Sacrifice is part of anything that you care about. And you still need to go for drinks with your buddies or girlfriends, and you still need to go to the gym. But, the time, you're not always going to be able to do what you want to do. And as Eleanor Roosevelt says, when you don't do what you want to do, when you actually do service instead, you discover a greater joy, a joy that isn't based on me, 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 me. Trump, for all his wealth and his sort of success, his success is based on a sort of constant fighting, which is kind of fun in a way, but it's not necessarily, maybe he's not giving himself a space to really appreciate it, right? So anyway, great question. And I just need help. A lot of people will say delegate more. That's sort of the key, is you have to have people to delegate to. Anyway, I'm probably boring people. Hey, you bet. Nyan K. All these videos are on YouTube. Oh, lots of nice comments to Inga. Good. Joey, what would you say about conflict with an ex-wife who refuses to help with medical expenses and puts the children in the middle of the issues? Whew, I would say that is tough. When we're tied in with someone who maybe doesn't want the best for our children or ourselves, that's really tough. Obviously, I'm only hearing your side of it here. But in terms of expenses, my father never paid child support with a couple months exception. He had to pay like $200 a month, almost nothing. He almost never paid. He never helped with college. He never helped with anything. And I just let go. It's way easier to just sort of like lower your bar and say, you know, this is my life. I'm not going to expect something that's never going to happen. That may not be your tactic here, but for me, it was, I really just didn't expect it. And that's good because it was never coming. So I don't know. I guess that's sort of bad news that you just have to kind of, that's something to let go of. If she's not going to pay medical expenses, just, you know, stop expecting it, because if she's not going to pay either way, at least you can let go of your own frustration around it. Yes, it is unfair, but, and if she can pay, if she legally has to pay, if she has the ability to pay, then you can try and force her to pay, and that could be the other way to go. But that's going to cost you a lot of energy and time, of course, too. Putting the children in the middle of the issues. I mean, we're all neurotic. I think you just need to sit down with her and say, or on email or text and say, look, fundamentally, we're both good people. Whatever disagreements we have, we want the best for our children. So here's 3 things. Let's just agree to do these 3 things. The kids need help with X. They need help with Y. They don't need us to use the children to influence each other either way. Just try and come to some common ground for the sake of the children. Joey, that's a tough one though, man. Writing about it, talking with friends, talking with a mediator could be helpful. Kim, in the past days I've discovered laughing is a way to release personal conflict. When I take a serious look at myself and life, there is something so funny and absurd about it all, and I laugh about it. It really helps me deal with potential drama and conflict. I think that can be a great practice. I think it can be, you know, a genuine sense of humor can be wonderful and cathartic and just fun. And it's a great thing to practice. Cheers. That said, you know, meditation is a fundamental way to come back to the present moment and to find that joy instead of sort of faking it. Not that you're faking it. Christine, well then this video is for you. Carly, when people in your life make bad decisions such as drugs or bad abusive relationships and they expect help but won't learn from their mistakes. If that's what's happening, I mean, sometimes you have to let go. Like when you're talking with someone who is an alcoholic and has no intention or ability to change, sometimes you have to respect that. You just have to say, you're making your choices. I can't help you out. I've tried. There's a blog called Idiot Compassion, and that's on elephantjournal.com. If you'd like to read that, that might help. Ashley could put that in the comments. Donna, Elephant Journal is a huge part of my day. I share it all the time with everyone. Thank you so much. I'm a rock star, and you're from Denver. Thank you. That's very sweet of you. Niati is self-awareness is mindfulness. Yeah, self-awareness is half of mindfulness. So self-awareness is the first half of meditation. The second half is coming back to the present moment again and again. So we'll practice that in a minute. Caitlin, the website and poems posted on here have really helped since January. Thank you. It's gratifying, and please always thank the editors. They're the ones who do all the work. Chelsea, could you talk about accepting money issues when the world is constantly run and controlled by how much you make and have? Also, when passions are not necessarily profitable. Well, Chelsea, great question. One of my main things of advice would be make sure you're living, if you don't want to make that much money because you want to pursue what you love and it doesn't make money, live somewhere affordable. In Vermont, you know, a beautiful house is like $100,000. Here in Boulder, it's like $600,000. It's ridiculous. In San Francisco, it's $1.5 million. So trying to make your life affordable and simple is a powerful way. A lot of people have embraced the tiny house movement. We could put a blog about the tiny house movement, Ashley, in the comments because of that, or just having less. There's a great quote by Henry David Thoreau that says, the less you want, the richer you are. Something like that. Yeah, money, I don't really feel like I have money issues. I don't know much about money, which is an issue, and I try and learn more about it. I didn't grow up with a good money education, but the only reason I ever want money is to do something with it, like to donate it or to pay my mortgage or to buy food. I don't think money, too many of us conflate money and pride, or money and success, or money and, I mean, what is the pride for? Just question yourself, go through it logically. Like, what, if I have a Tesla, you know, I think I want a Tesla, maybe. So why do I want it? What would I do with it? I'll tell you, after a week or two, it's just going to be parked out front. I'm going to be biking around anyway. Biking's free. Money is overrated. But having enough money for the life that you need and want cannot be, you know, overstated, the importance of that. So that's Right Livelihood. Just watch my video on Right Livelihood if you feel like it. Maybe it's in the comments. Hey, happy birthday to you. Cheerful birthday. We have a blog, Ashley, on cheerful versus happy birthday and why that's an important distinction from a Buddhist point of view. Melina's video is freezing. Anyone else having freezing video? Kim, I think you're talking about DAPL, write letters, incredibly powerful. Oh, no, you're talking about just writing letters to each other. That's a way to sanity. Boom, boom. Amanda, I call you Every Person's Guide to Mindfulness. Yeah, that's good. Instead of Idiot's Guide. Joni, we have a blog on the Buddha and alcohol. It's called Mindful Drinking. We have a couple blogs on that, but Ashley, if you can put mindful drinking in the practice of drinking from a Buddhist point of view. This is not if you're an alcoholic. This is only if you're trying to relate to alcohol in a mindful, kind of appreciative way without overdoing it. All right, I think I need to wrap up. There's so many comments. So if I missed any of your comments, please come back tomorrow if you like and copy paste them and I'll answer and I'll get to them. All right, let's meditate for a sec. So take a great posture. This is the Buddhist practice of shamatha. Begin by dedicating yourself to the benefit of others, dedicating your day to others. This is a powerful way to keep the kind of good vibes and merit flowing. Take a good posture and take a deep breath. Reconnect with your breath. Your eyes are open and cast downward slightly. So they're open because we're not trying to shut anything out. Hands are just flat on your thighs. Just breathe in and out. Okay, when you feel something in your body or you find yourself thinking or a song in your head, label it thinking, return to your breath. Oh, I'm late for an appointment. I feel really tired in my eyes. Thinking, return to your breath. And you can do that for 5 or 10 minutes. That's meditation. Thank you so much. If you've enjoyed this, please give it a like or love or a share. Shares are obviously by far the most powerful thing you can do to support Elephant or mindfulness in your friends' lives. And thank you for joining. What else? Oh, when I hang up, there will be a button that you can get notifications on future videos. It's not too obnoxious. It'll just tell you when future videos happen. And if you missed any videos or you want to look at way shorter videos, you can go to youtube.com/elephantjournal. And thank you, everyone. If you feel like it, thank Ashley. And if I didn't get to your comment, please copy and paste it, and I'll get to it tomorrow. So tomorrow, my video will just be on answering your questions. And hopefully a couple of you can come back. I'll do it at 9 a.m. MST sharp.